And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to all of you fine folks out there. It's certainly a chilly one here in Louisville, Kentucky, as we've had another cold front come through. But that's not going to stop us from talking about some things heating up and warming up around Louisville women's athletics. We've got four of us here today. Daryl is out a little bit under the weather, so we hope she gets to feeling better. We do welcome Jeff back after a brief hiatus. How's your traveling been going, Jeff?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a quick road trip just down to Atlanta and back. No big deal. But spent the day down there. Went to the volleyball match with Claire and Coach Chelsea and Tori Dilfer Stringer, playing each other in the pro leagues down there. So got to see that. It was fun. Good to support that pro volleyball league getting started up. Which I've been really excited for. So yeah, not bad. Other than the autopilot on my car flipped out again, so I had to hand drive it the whole way. Woe is me.
First world problem. Welcome back to the rest of us.
Yeah,
yeah. First world problem.
A brief return to reality. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Jeff's car there must be humbling him a little bit. And
so it was
old steering.
It has like a little ultrasonic. It has like ultrasonic sensors in the bumpers as part of its all its stuff it does, right? And like I was on the way out. I was maybe in Bullitt County, and it apparently had some sort of little piece of road debris, got kicked up, and hit the ultrasonic sensor and knocked it out of the bumper. Actually, like kicked it back into the bumper, broke it away, and it was a bullseye shot too, because this thing's not even an inch circle, and it was a bullseye shot right on the ultrasonic sensor to kick it out. I was like, oh man. So anyway, get that dealt with.
Well, at least you did get to enjoy some fun professional volleyball and throw cards out there.
Great. A lot of fun, wonderful atmosphere. They got in line, and then UK couple got in line right behind me, of course, because they're everywhere. So that's how it goes.
Welcome to the world of dealing with the UK fans.
Yeah.
But we also have Case in the house. Case has been running all the engineering stuff by himself the last couple of weeks, so I'm sure he's glad to have Jeff back. Case, what's new with you?
It's not that much whenever Jeff's gone, because then I just don't do the live show. So
yeah,
it's no big change to me. I just keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, it's been a weird week. It's been slow but fast. One of those kind of things. It occurred to me the other day. I was looking at some notes on my desk. Or it occurred to me, this week. I was looking at some notes on my desk that I remembered writing not that long ago, and they had things about like do this by February or by November something. And I was like, okay, that was actually quite a long time ago that I wrote that down. So yeah, time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, I had done them a long time ago. I just happened to be writing something else that is relevant 4 months later on the same paper.
That's good.
Yeah. So it was for November last year. It's not you setting yourself a reminder for 9 months down the road or anything.
No, but there are things on my calendar for much later this year already.
Well, I know you got a busy one on your calendar tomorrow, a 2:00 game. We get to welcome you back to the Yum Center.
Yeah. Hopefully a similar outcome to the last time I was at a game. I'll try to not have my curse come in on Louisville women's basketball. It seems like maybe it didn't apply against Wake Forest, but then that fourth quarter was kind of, up until the fourth quarter, that game was kind of weird. So we'll see. Big game tomorrow.
Well, we've got full faith in you to help continue that win streak. And then our basketball guru, who's not quite ready to get back out to the arena yet, but has had some promising news from his doctors. We've got Paulie back. What's new with you?
Hey, glad to be back with you guys again. Certainly just following the advice of cardiologists and such and taking it a day and a step at a time. A couple great things that have come down from their wise judgment and decision making that they have allowed the boy to get on the road again and drive a vehicle. That's a warning to all of Jefferson County and parts outreaching. But I was able to actually transport my vehicle back and forth a couple of times this weekend. It was a little weird after not being on the road for a couple months. You kind of like, oh, I'm not checking that mirror enough, or damn, what am I doing 55 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone? But it's the things that you kind of get back to when driving, and also had a bit of damage in Sonia's vehicle. Somehow she has this right front panel dent in her car, which magically disappeared one morning and then came back. She swears she didn't see it, but it was there the next morning. We're thinking it might have been a bit of vandalism at the school where she works. Somebody just basically decided to haul off and do a karate kick into that front panel. Uh, so seem to think the guys up at the body shop when I talked to them on the phone, but it's the second body shop. The first body shop I tried to take this vehicle to, I will never recommend in the rest of my life to anybody for anything, including even stopping in to see what time it is. I won't throw out names here. I'm just going to tell you that in the area of Beechel, which is the old Barchtown Road area in our fair city, there are a couple of body shops in that area. One's very good, one's horrible. So take that into mind. But glad to be back, and I've really enjoyed reading you guys this week too. It's just being fully clear-headed now and able to do that. Y'all a bunch of good writers, I got to tell you. Patting you on the back.
Well, we will certainly take that compliment, and it's some interesting timing that right as soon as you're cleared to get back behind the wheel, there's a dent that magically appears in Sonia's vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't me, I swear, because I don't drive her car. I've got my own car. The only reason I would drive her car is to get it out of the way of something in our driveway. Okay, that's her baby. We don't know how it got there, but
I thought maybe you were a little frustrated with the outcome of a basketball game.
Yeah, that's me limping out there, kicking the car at 11:30 p.m. Damn rebounders! No, it just kind of speaks volumes to the fact that I'm just pleased to be able to follow you guys when I'm not quite back to where I should be, and we got some pretty damn good teams out here this year, Jared. Let's talk about them. Daggone.
Yeah, so obviously I'm the fourth hooligan here on the show this morning. As Daryl is out, I do want to give Daryl a quick shout out and appreciation as I was up in Indianapolis Thursday evening photographing a concert. Not great phone signal. Couldn't stream the game, so I appreciate her text updates as that one came down to the wire. But yeah, Louisville women's basketball been a busy one. Before we get too much into that, I think we're going to hand the reins over to Case to talk about some scheduling, which does include some women's basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy one this week, as it always is for Louisville sports when the spring sports get started and winter sports are still in action. So it gets underway today. Rowing is in Cocoa Beach, taking on Tennessee in a scrimmage. Fun one there for them, already underway. And also probably not quite started just yet in Albuquerque is the USA Track and Field Indoor Championships that got underway yesterday and wraps up today. Softball has already finished a game or is about to finish that game as they started at 9 a.m. in Boca Raton this morning, taking on Maine. They were in line for what looked to be a mercy rule with an 8-0 lead late in that one. So we'll follow up with that. Once that game wraps up, they'll get, I think, 20 or 30 minutes before they take on Michigan. A scheduled 11:15 start, but not likely to start at that time for the last game in this invitational this weekend. Men's tennis is at home taking on Belmont. Baseball is on the road taking on USF. That one is at 4 p.m. today. Men's tennis also hosts Butler. And then men's basketball is on the road, taking on Pittsburgh at 6:30 this evening on ACC Network. Tomorrow, as Jared mentioned, some more action. Women's golf is hosting the Moon Golf Invitational in Melbourne, Florida. A time to start that is TBA, which is a little interesting. I think for golf, it's kind of all day is when it starts. Lacrosse is taking on Lindenwood. This one's on the road at 1 p.m. Noon Central start. It'll be on ESPN Plus. And then the big one that Jared mentioned, Louisville hosting Virginia Tech, the 12th and 13th ranked Hokies. I apologize for a little bit of hesitation there. I was trying to see what channel that one's going to be on TV. The schedule, unfortunately, the image is not loading, and it just says TV logo. So not
Thanks.
very not
That's
very
helpful.
Yeah. So I guess that's a sign. You have to come out to the Center and watch that one live.
Yeah,
That one
already
is
sold out the lower bowl. Apparently.
Are they opening the
Yeah.
upper
Yeah.
bowl?
Oh yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
announced? Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe they're opening one side up top, but it should be an ESPN streamed game. Per an announcement they made a couple weeks ago, I don't think the TV stream has changed at this time.
Gotcha. So there you go. 2 p.m. start for that one, like Jared mentioned. Monday, women's golf and men's golf continue their events. Men's golf is in La Quinta, California, at the Prestige, hosted by Stanford. Tuesday, both of those events continue, and the ACC championships for swimming get started. Those will continue through Saturday. Wednesday, men's basketball taking on Notre Dame at the Yum Center at 7 p.m. On ESPNU, channel we don't see very frequently these days for basketball games, but still hosts them every once in a while. Baseball will do their weird thing of playing a game in the middle of the day on a weekday because that's normal. At 3 p.m., they'll take on Xavier at Jim Patterson on Wednesday. That'll be on ACC Network Extra. Thursday, women's basketball back in action. They head down to Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech at 6 p.m. on ACC Network proper. And ACC Indoor Championships for track begin on Thursday as well, hosted by Boston College in Boston, Massachusetts. Friday, the fun continues. Like I mentioned, it's late February is a busy time for Louisville athletics. Softball will take on Furman in Conway, South Carolina at 10 a.m. on Friday. Baseball will host St. Bonaventure at 3 p.m. on Friday in Jim Patterson. Softball will continue in Conway. They'll take on Coastal Carolina at 3:30 on Friday, and women's tennis will wrap up the day hosting Virginia Tech at the Bass Road Tennis Center Friday afternoon at 4. So, quick check to see what time the game will start for softball. Nope, doesn't start till 12:30. So that'll do it for the schedule. I made it. There was a lot that happened there, and a lot that will happen, I guess I should say.
Well, it feels good to have all those sports in action. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about a women's basketball loss when they went up to Syracuse and got a loss the other day, last Sunday. I know this is one we've kind of talked about a little bit, that, the strategy down the stretch with the fouling and the intentional foul that was called. So I know we were a little back and forth on the right strategy to call. So maybe we can start there on what's the right route to go at the end of a game like that.
Yeah, Paulie, you were the one in disagreement. You don't think it's a foul situation. Just to wrap up the situation, Louisville led by 1. They had a foul to give. Syracuse had gotten an offensive rebound, so shot clock reset. 2.5 seconds to go. Olivia Cochran reaches out to foul and is ultimately called for the intentional.
Okay, yeah. In case all that's true and it's all right there. And I'll be the first to admit there's two schools of thoughts of what you do in this situation. Okay. Uh, First of all, let's put it out there. We had the lead. We were not trailing this game. We did not need the basketball back. All we had to do was to prevent them from putting a shot up. Now, do you foul them and do that? The Cardinals seemed to do that in their last game. Had that done against them quite a bit, but still won. I take the other approach here. I don't think you foul there. Why do you, first of all, give them a much easier attempt at going to the line because of the officials' stupidity of calling an intentional foul on something that was far from it? Olivia Cochran did not knock their best player fair to the floor. She reached out basically and kind of tried to get the ball and held on to her a little bit, and this officiating crew decided that it was the worst crime committed in the history of women's college basketball, and
At
called
least in a game.
or in
Yeah.
this game, and called an intentional foul on her. And
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the crux of it is that you've got, obviously when you're going for the, I don't want to call it an intentional foul because that's obviously a term for the specific call, but when you're actually like planning to go to do the foul,
When you're going to foul intentionally,
when
but
you're
not
going to foul
intentionally foul.
intentionally, but not an intentional foul. Yeah, that's the language. You're not counting on getting the intentional foul. You're obviously, or you're not even expecting it because this happens all the time in games left and right, and certainly plenty of examples were shown afterwards where this same sort of thing happens and it doesn't get called an intentional foul. But I think what the crux of it comes down to is that UofL had fouls to give. Right. The only reason that Syracuse went to the line was because of the god awful, horrible officiating crew made such a terrible decision. Right. In a normal situation with normal fouls, they don't go to the line. You don't give them the opportunity to do that. I think that's the distinction here. If they were in the bonus, yeah, absolutely, don't foul. I totally agree with you. But because they had the fouls to give, I don't think the strategy of going for the foul is a bad one in that case. It just you got a terrible crew that screwed it up. So
Yeah, for me, that the strategy there is they've got the ball with 3 seconds left after an offensive rebound. They're going to drive the lane and try to get a foul and go to the line anyway. So if you've got a foul to give and you can force them to do an out of bounds play with 2.5 seconds left, they're probably not going to be able to get up a good shot or get in a position where they might get a shooting foul.
Yeah.
As they head towards the lane. Unfortunately, the call was what it was. I mean, if we back up and we just say, okay, don't let them get an offensive rebound in that situation, then you're in a much better position because they shouldn't have let them get an offensive rebound there.
Yeah.
And people have pointed out a lot of things here, guys. People pointed out that the Cards blew an 8-point lead.
Yeah.
Which should have never been in that situation.
Yeah, okay. Should never have been there. Absolutely.
That's totally agree with basketball, though. Teams can get hot.
Yeah.
That's all part of the game. Syracuse is not that bad a squad, to be honest with you, boys. Let's pull the blinders up and take a look outside in the backyard. Hey, they got a good team. This Fair is a fantastic player, and she's good. But, let's. I still got to stand by original stance. Why foul? Why put the game possibly and potentially in the hands of a horrible officiating crew? Why do you take away your basic control of the game and say, oh, we're going to foul here and the officials will do the right thing? Well, guess what? Officials don't always do the right thing, and this was the case where it came back and burned us.
Yeah, and I think that leads into a much bigger discussion, honestly. You talk about why leave it in the hands of a terrible officiating crew, and unfortunately, that's all too often the case in women's basketball. That you have, these terrible officiating crews that don't know the rules well. They're not interpreting them according to NCAA interpretations, which we saw later. Jeff Walz and other coaches out there should be able to use this strategy, which the NCAA, even in their statement, said was a valid strategy for playing the game of basketball. They should be able to use this strategy with confidence of knowing how those potential fouls are going to be called. And right now, we don't have that with officiating in the women's game. And it's a problem. It is a problem for the game. It's a problem to grow the sport. I've gone off on this rant before. You want to improve the game of women's basketball. You want to improve the women's side of the basketball game and get it up into better parity. You got to fix the officiating because it's broken right now.
It is. There's no doubt about it. It is.
I think another problem too is you say you don't want to leave it in the hands of the officiating crew, but if you don't foul there, you still leave it in the hands of the officiating crew. If they drive the lane and you don't touch them at all, or get a decently clean block,
They're still going to call a foul.
But how does that involve an official case if nobody's touching anybody?
Well, if they drive the lane and they bump into
stand there and watch, I mean, are they going to screw up watching it?
You and they call a foul, then I mean, you left it in their hands.
Okay, then you're talking about contact.
Well, yeah, but
well,
no. Not going to drive the lane.
Are we going to be silly enough to stand in a player's way driving to the basket at the end of the game?
When you're up by one, you're just going to let them drive for a layup and score?
Are you going to stand there and say, "Oh, gee, hit me! I'm going to put you on the foul line"?
I mean, it's
well, okay.
To what they want to do, and
Yeah, and as we've seen, even standing off to the side and not making contact with women's officiating is no guarantee of not getting called a foul.
I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, it's just like, Rick Hart is over there talking to Jeff Walls, and they whistle her. Hey, you were staring at her. She was in the lane, and you stared her down.
I wouldn't put it past them, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen very, very clean contacts with only the ball get called a foul.
Yeah.
They did call a double technical earlier in that game for reasons.
Yeah, and then
words exchanged.
These teams aren't going to exchange Christmas cards. They're not buddy. They're not going to hold hands down at the ACC tournament and sing Kumbaya. Okay, it's not going to happen. There is an intense dislike here between these two teams and these two players. I think on the coaching side, the coaches aren't really that much at odds with each other. No. I know Walls, of course, obviously misses Quentin Hillsman, but that was his buddy up at Syracuse. But Quentin, unfortunately, did some things that are a no-no. So it's a loss. The thing, guys, about it is my next question was, how are they going to come back from it? I mean, they're going up to Boston College. This, admittedly, is not a team that's going to be in the NCAA tournament unless they somehow miraculously win the ACC tournament. They're not a great team, but they were at home. They were looking to break a losing streak. Nobody was there for that game. There were more people, I bet you, in the lobby of my local Thornton's than were at that game. It was horrible. Boston College does not support women's basketball. And that's a damn shame because they got a fine coach up there.
Yeah, and that's true of a lot of their sports. I think it's probably true of their sports in general, but certainly particularly for the women's sports, they don't get a lot of support up there. They don't get a lot of crowd draw, and it is unfortunate. They're volleyball plays in a gym that's got maybe 5 rows of bleachers beside the court. I mean, it's frustrating to see that.
There were 2 different types of dance, let's face it. Boston has got pro franchises, a lot of big things going on. A very, very busy school up on the Northeast Coast. Very, very busy area. We have no pro sports here to speak of except for a couple that aren't one of the big 3.
Yeah.
Although we do have some fine minor pro sports teams.
Mm-hmm.
So our college sports tend to gravitate a lot more interest in people. But I know if I'm a kid that's at Boston College and I've earned a scholarship to go there, and I'm all excited about it, and I walk out on the court for my first freshman game and see 45 people in the stands, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is what I signed up for. And then
I would call out Boston Colleges, for not getting their students to turn out for it. But, then I turn around and look at even Louisville women's basketball games drawing 6, 8, 10,000 people, and the student sections are anemic or non-existent among that crowd.
And they are, and it didn't used to be that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So the question, I guess, was, guys, okay? This happened at Syracuse. Can we go on to Boston College and get back on the right track? Yeah, but
took
boy,
a few quarters.
it sure was slippery driving, huh?
Oh. Yeah, it was a messy start, but it did eventually get the job done. But yeah, it was not pretty starting out.
Well, that's part of the whole. You're in the ACC. It's always tougher when you're playing in conference play, especially against a team you see multiple times a year. I mean, we've seen Boston College once already this season, so they were able to get a little more film and strategize against Louisville, and I thought they executed fairly well. And then the Cards also just didn't play as great as they needed to.
And sometimes that will happen to you, and certainly give Boston College all the credit in the world. They were on what, a 7-game losing streak. They weren't getting any fan attendance. There has already been talk about this being Joan Burnaby McNamee's last year up there in the media and press like that. So she's got to be feeling a very heavy weight on her shoulders. And somehow they just kind of rallied together and said, you know what? Let's shock the world once. Let's go ahead and make this 2 hours our 2 hours. And they darn near pulled it off. Now, is that going to make any difference in the scheme of things for the rest of the season? No, they're not going to be highly ranked in the tournament. No, she's probably not going to be given another year. And Boston College is probably just going to have to say, you know what? We're going to be a good basketball program someday, but it's not here yet. And that's the sad point, because she is a really good coach.
Yeah, I've always appreciated her work up there. I thought she's done a pretty good job with them, and certainly have shown that there's a spark there. But just can't maybe can't get over the hump. But again, you talk about how much support do they get, so it's part of that equation
she's
as well.
A really good speaker, Jeff. She's a wonderful person.
That's what I've understood. Yeah,
I have been fortunate enough to talk with her at ACC tournaments in past years and stuff. And there is a drive and there is a commitment there to do the best she can with the girls on her team. But unfortunately, she's just not getting the girls in there that can kind of turn things around. And the girls that she has had there left out and took a 5th year elsewhere and is doing great things. But such it is. Louisville won, and it'll go down as a W. And do we want to write this down as pretty?
No, but I sometimes lament this, but when it comes to NCAA tournament time, that the selection committee doesn't seem to really pay attention to how the game goes. They just look at the outcomes.
Yeah,
who won and lost. So
last 10, how'd you do?
In this case, I think that works in our favor for this game. But it was not pretty getting there, and I'm kind of glad that they're gonna overlook that part of it when the time comes.
And I guess, guys, as far as the actual game goes, the bounce back win game, obviously Nina Cards has been doing such wonderful things for the Cards. She stands up again, and this one gets 16 points, plays her heart out. The Kiki Jefferson, 14 points. Another one of those that are basically one and done here. Sydney Taylor, nice game, 13 points. The girls that Walls has brought in for 1 year are continuing to put the numbers up, to do the good things. Obviously, they're being assisted and helped quite a bit by those returning girls we love, and Olivia Cochran and Nina Harris. What can you say about the rest of it? Are they going to be able to continue us as we get deeper into this season and into more and more competition? And this might be a good point to say, gee, Sunday, that could be a pretty good game, huh? We got a team that's really good coming in here in Virginia Tech with Kenny Brooks.
Yeah, I think what was alarming about the Boston College game for me and is not encouraging for leading into this big game against Virginia Tech is, Louisville was coming off of a tough loss against Syracuse, in which they played, not badly. Obviously they gave up the late lead, and we've belabored the final play, but the game against Boston College, by all accounts, they should have won this game by 30 points. They didn't shoot that bad. 46% is not great, but it's not the worst. They only took 6 threes, which is a little odd. 1 for 6 there. And they dominated on the glass, 39-27. Boston College was not shooting much better, 44% total, and only 2 of 9 from beyond the arc. Louisville took more free throws and made more free throws. What really hurts was the fact that they just kind of handed the ball to Boston College at every opportunity. Like, BC had 12 steals, Louisville had 24 total turnovers. That's not ideal. Somehow Boston College only scored 16 points off of 24 turnovers. But if Louisville's going to be so cavalier with the ball tomorrow, they're going to have a bad time against Virginia.
Oh, absolutely. If you make 9 turnovers in the first half against Virginia Tech, or even in the first quarter, you're going to be down by 20 points. Let's face it.
Yeah, they're going to punish those turnovers in a way that Boston College didn't. And Louisville didn't show a whole lot throughout the game after that 17-8 first quarter. They recovered well in the second quarter, but they didn't show much for the remainder of the game to say, oh, yeah, we figured it out. They had a rough first quarter for turnovers and then just continued to have a rough game for turnovers. So, not ideal.
Such is life on the road in the ACC, eh?
Yeah, for sure. It's never a day off. We keep saying it, but it's never a day off.
And we'll also tell you the same thing. We can't overlook anybody in this league. And that point was brought to bear, which, admittedly, it wasn't our best game because we weren't really playing with the skill and intensity that we'd shown earlier in the year. But it's like I say, it's all water under the bridge now. The next one is staring us right square in the face tomorrow. And it's against dare I say, a better opponent than the last 2 we have played. Yes, I think I can say that safely.
Yeah, I don't think too many people would argue with that.
Jared, you've followed Kenny Brooks for a while. You've seen the kind of teams he turns out. Obviously, what are you seeing in this team? They've got probably one of the best centers in the nation. They've got a really strong Georgia Amore. Give us what Louisville is going to run into here, in your opinion.
You're looking at a very experienced team that is coming off a highly successful season last year, making to the Final Four. You've got to focus on shutting down Amore and Kitley if you want to have any type of chance of winning this ball game. Keep Kitley off the perimeter, keep Amore off the perimeter, so she can't hit the threes. And I would probably be double teaming Kitley down in the post as much as you can, especially just due to the fact she's so tall and we don't have the true height to match her. So you're going to need a couple bodies on her just to disrupt her game.
And I think I saw this is one that is going to be on ESPN proper. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Kind of looking ahead, and I think that yes. So fortunately, I'll be able to watch it too. That's great, and we'll have good representation in the house. I hope for a big crowd. Jared? Is there a chance we get 14,000 for this thing? I mean, what are you seeing so far? I've heard maybe opening the upper deck for it.
I'm going to say at least 12,000. I think 14 may be tough just because fans are finicky. They don't like to travel. Louisville is notorious for having fair weather fans. The Cards just came off a loss a couple weeks ago, not in the top 10. But you really hope it's a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. You're getting there in the sunshine. When you're leaving the game, it's still going to be daylight outside. Like, get out there and cheer them on. Especially because you don't have another basketball team in Louisville that's worth cheering on right now. So get out there.
Yeah, that's well. I know Bellarmine. Bellarmine.
Yeah, they're struggling a little bit this year too. I think.
Yeah, it's
probably
probably
not terrible, but
yeah. Besides, like the built-in rivalries versus Kentucky and some of the others. This is huge hoops down there. And if you're even debating about going, and if you're listening to this, you probably already know the outcome or whatever. But I'd love to see people show up for this one in mass and kind of give a nationwide audience once again a view of how we love and cherish our basketball here in this city. And let's show out and kind of have the kid out there in Topeka, Kansas, who's a sophomore and playing pretty good, think, I want to put maybe Louisville on my list as a possible. Look at that fan base. Wow, they get excited about us. It's so.
Oh no, the last Kansas girl we kind of ran off with them.
Well,
A little
yeah,
salty
okay,
about
Jared.
still.
You pick a state, Jared, then that's fine.
Hey,
Okay.
she's playing pretty well though.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
putting
she
up great
didn't.
numbers.
She
Yeah.
ran off and then found herself a nice situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so that's what they've got. That's what they're going to do. How does Louisville stop Kitley?
Man.
You don't. You
Yeah,
just try and minimize the damage she can do to you.
and then shut down other people. Yeah.
Amore? Who do you put on her? What does Wallace do? I mean, they've got two bona fide All-Americans right there.
Yeah.
I think you have to focus on Amore. A fantastic post player is a fantastic post player, and Louisville probably can't stop her anyway. So if you overcommit resources trying to stop her from scoring 2 points offensively, then you might leave Georgia Amore open to score 3 points. And I would rather give up 2 than 3 in a game like basketball. So I think you have to focus on the potential for more damage, which would be outside shooting, as well as if you try too hard to get additional stops on the inside, you are likely going to be called for more fouls, regardless of the officiating crew's proficiency at all levels of basketball. When you try to play hard defense against a powerful post player who has a height advantage, you're going to get called for fouls, and Louisville needs to be able to respond on offense just as much as they need to be able to stop Virginia Tech on defense. And a lot of their offense comes from their post players as well. So, yeah, I think you have to focus on if Elizabeth Kitley is going to be who beats you, then she's going to have to be the one that beats you. Don't let somebody else do it.
So, I think can't miss if you're a women's college basketball fan game for you to view, or if you can get down there, by all means do it. I mean, certainly, I wish it was coming a little later in the season, so I would be cleared to go. But right now, they're just kind of saying you might want to avoid some things that are going to be where you are going to possibly get very, very excited. Okay, well, I'm going to get excited on my chair here in my TV room. What's the difference of me getting excited here and in that or in the hall? But anyway, I'll listen to their advice. Yeah, it should be fun. I guess we do want to give some other time though to some of our other fine spring sports that are, doing quite well on the softball edge here. The lacrosse team finally got a win. I'll let you decide, Jared, which one will we start with?
Yeah, we'll celebrate softball moving to 9-1 with a win just a few minutes ago as they prepare to take on Michigan within the next hour. They did suffer their first loss of the season against host school Florida Atlantic yesterday, so they did split the Florida Atlantic series 1-1. Got a run rule win against Seton Hall Friday, which is a good one. So as of right now they're 3-1 in the current tournament. They're really playing extremely well. I was concerned about the offense going into the season, losing such heavy hitters, some big power hitters. I don't think I really need to be concerned about the offense anymore. So far, I think they've only been scored under 4 runs, I think, twice this season now. So that's not a bad mark at all. They're definitely putting up some good numbers. Holly April's got a good pitching crew to work with. She's been able to rotate pitchers. stood
Got a
up
whole
experience.
parade of pitchers to work with.
And they're all putting up good numbers too.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just one or two that are looking good. No, they're all looking very well for how early we are in the season, which is a promising sign. I know softball's not really playing anybody that I would argue is the top 50 or 60 in the RPI. I think Michigan may be the first, but still, a win's a win, and it's great to build that momentum moving into the rest of the season, because a lot of these are must wins when you look at postseason trying to get a draw. You got to win these types of games, and that's exactly what softball's doing. So they're putting themselves in good shape for later.
I would say about the pitching, I'm not entirely sure what Holly April is doing with her pitching choices. In yesterday's games against Seton Hall and FAU, against Seton Hall, Sambu was having a fine game. She was relieved to start the 5th inning, and her reliever gave up 4 runs. And then Sambu was put back in to close the inning. So if she wasn't tired and couldn't continue pitching, I'm not sure why you took her out, other than trying to get someone some additional time in the circle. But I don't know. That was a weird choice. And then later, Sambu again doing a fine job in the game against FAU. Louisville was down 4-3 at the time. Sambu had picked up 2 outs and then was relieved again for that one, and then Louisville gave up 2 more runs to go down 6-3, which was ultimately the final score. And they were down already, so you're just trying to maintain that 1-run deficit. But at the same time, if you've got a hot hand and they're doing fine, I don't know necessarily why. Sometimes baseball and softball managers will do that, and they'll meddle too much in the bullpen, and it feels early on like that's what's kind of happening to some extent, even in Louisville's wins.
Yeah, and she's, you wonder some of this is just kind of managing the load on various pitchers. I mean, they've got a huge pitching staff to work with, and they're all putting up good numbers. They're all pitching well. So it may have been just like, hey, let's get her out, let's let her rest a little bit, and put somebody else in. But like you said, that may be too involved in it. Let her kind of pitch the hot hand for a little while. You've got a bunch of pitchers. You don't need to necessarily rest her a little bit for a game today. Maybe you got a bunch of other pitchers that can come in there and take the load on that. So I don't know.
I think, Jeff, you've got to give Brooke Gray a lot of credit for the inning she tossed in there against FAU. This is a freshman coming in from highly regarded high school phenomenon squad Ballard High School here in Louisville is incredible. She was one of the best at Ballard ever. She steps on campus as a freshman, goes down to a tough situation like it was down there, turns in 2 innings of shutout softball, allowing only 2 hits, getting 2 strikeouts, facing 10 batters, and basically as many as anybody else faced in that game for us, and her slate was clean. You take a look at her slate, nobody scored any runs against Brooke Gray. Holly, what is that telling you? Was it just she's really good against FAU?
Well,
or maybe she should get some more time?
I will counter and say that while she wasn't credited with a run, she did give up a run on a wild pitch. It just was credited to whoever had put the runner on third.
Yep. Well, sometimes you throw wild pitches in a game case. It happens, okay? If there hadn't been a runner there allowed by another pitcher, then they never would have scored.
That's true.
I'm still going to stand by my Brooke Gray stance. And
yeah, and I don't think anybody is out there is going to say she's not doing well.
Yeah,
I mean, she's doing fine. She's doing a great job. She is, like I said, is what we're saying about the whole staff is everybody's looking good. You got Gabby Holloway's been out there. Alyssa Zabala's put up some amazing numbers and done some amazing things.
Absolutely.
Sambu, we were talking about, some interesting, taking her out for a little bit, but they've all done well. We even saw Izzy Harrison. Yeah, sorry. Name went on me for a minute. The other day she did pretty well. The staff is great. It's been it's been interesting to watch. I've only been able to watch a little bit of it because weird ESPN Plus stuff going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been some really positive surprises out of the pitching staff. Surprise may not be the right word. We knew they were going to be good, but they're really good. I've been really happy with them. So,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Zabala got dinged up yesterday, and it kind of hurt her numbers. But she's got a 2.25 ERA now. But she gave up 4 runs yesterday, so that's definitely hurting that. Brooke Gray has only thrown 6 innings. So to Polly's point about maybe getting her some more run, and those 6 1/3 might not include the 3 1/3 she threw or 4 1/3 she threw today. She got the start in the game against Maine, and the win there. Actually, I know that it doesn't because she is now 3-0.
Yeah, and I
on the
hadn't even
season.
seen that, so she did get a chance to go today, and you're saying through almost 5.
Yep, 4 1/3, no runs allowed in that 8-0 win. So her ERA remains at 0. I believe her WHIP probably will fall down below 1, which is good. Sambu also has an ERA below 1 and a WHIP below 1. So she's been fantastic this season. She had her struggles last year, but really kind of a revelation there for the Cards. Amazingly, Louisville's only run 6 pitchers this season. It feels like more, but like I said, getting good play out of them, which is good to see because that was kind of a question mark last year and a question mark going into this year is what that would look like. So, yeah, a 1.54 ERA as a staff, not counting today's game, is not too shabby.
Yeah, and I think it's, I don't know, broader picture backing out a little bit. I think it's interesting to talk about. You said they put 6 pitchers up. I haven't counted, but that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go back 10 years ago, you would have softball teams that would go through the whole season with only 1 pitcher.
Oh yeah,
it's really interesting how the game has changed over the years.
Look at Ballard last season. Brooke Gray probably pitched 95% of their innings.
Yeah.
as a team.
And there are some Midwestern schools out there that still go by that philosophy, guys.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma, some of the others out there. Yeah. Maybe it's starting to slowly trend toward like, let's put all 6 pitchers out there in one game so none of them get too hard. But I'm still pretty much a proponent of, if you got a good girl on a mound and she's feeling fine and the other team isn't doing anything against her, keep her out there for as long as she wants to be out there and she isn't in any physical trouble, okay? Let her throw, because that's what the kids did in high school. Each one of them were throwing their arms off in high school to get a college scholarship. And now look at them. Oh, I'm going to throw a third of an inning in 2 weeks. Yeah, did I make the right choice here?
I think once you start getting through about the 3rd rotation of the opposing team's lineup, that's probably when you want to start looking at a pitching change, just because that's given the opposing team some time and at bats to adapt and figure things out.
From a pitcher standpoint, let's face it. Hey, I struck this girl out twice. She's coming up for the 3rd time. I know how to get her. This is from a pitcher's report.
Yeah, but of course the batter's also going, okay, now I know what she's pitching. Seeing 3-4 innings worth of her pitches and go, okay, let me adjust how I'm hitting on her. There's only so many things you can do from the pitcher's line as a player to adjust your play. I get the idea that the familiarity breeds more offense, so that may be part of the factor going into it. But yeah,
I would still go back to yesterday's game. I mean, Sam Booth threw 4 innings, no runs. She was relieved to start the inning. There's no like, oh, she was facing the lineup for the 3rd time and gave up a couple of hits, so maybe we should pull her. I don't understand that philosophy to have relieved her at that point. I get wanting to get more pitchers time in the circle, but that's not the moment to me. If you're in a position where you're trying to win the game, and you ideally in softball want to win the game in as few innings as possible, like the opportunity is there for run rolls. if you put somebody out there who's cold versus a player that is pitching very well, put somebody who's out there cold, and then they start giving up runs, then all of a sudden you've reduced your chance of getting out of the game quickly. If Sam Buda, or if Lindsey Mullen doesn't come in and give up 4 runs, and
Yeah,
Sam
that
Buda
was
just finishes the
looking at
fifth,
that,
then Louisville might win that game in 5 innings. And then maybe everybody's in a better position heading into the FAU game. You just don't even know. So, a weird situation.
They credited Lindsay with the save today in this 8-0 win. Okay, well, that's
got a save.
Fine. Yeah, they actually gave her a save today
Okay.
in this 8-0 win over Maine. I'm looking at the stats right now, and I was kind of, my eyebrows raised too, Case. I'm like,
softball saves are credited a little differently than baseball saves, I guess.
Okay. And then, of course, how is Maine compared to FAU as far as the strength of the team? Who's to say? Have they played each other yet? I don't know. Certainly, this is an auspicious start for the softball squad. We're happy. You take some of the girls that are in here that are doing incredible stuff. And let's start with one of Jeff's favorites, and certainly one of my favorites. Daisy has a shortstop. An incredible ball player. Came in here last year and said, "Okay, Holly, I'd like to play here a couple years." And they immediately moved her to shortstop, and she hadn't left it yet. She's like, "I'm still the shortstop here, and look at what I'm doing." Hell, she's got people writing haikus about her, right? Come on. Daisy is. That's the one I love, Jeff.
Yeah, obviously she's done some great stuff. We knew she was highly lauded when she came in here last year and did pretty well. Had a few moments where I was like, okay, she's struggling a little bit, but has certainly, I think overall was a benefit to the team. Has come out on fire again this year. I wrote that haiku in the comments yesterday. I occasionally do weird stuff like that. Because it was more about her being one of many players on the UofL team who steal bases on such a routine basis. That I think is maybe one of the things that's really fun about this team is their base running. Just from a pure out joy of watching the game. Some of these players, Daisy Hess, Vanessa Miller, Ali Alexander, some of these other players, they get on base and it's like, okay, 2 pitches, they're on second. It's 2 pitches later. It's fun to watch. So I'm very appreciative of that.
Vanessa Miller, Riley Frizzell, 2 players that are stepping up and just knocking the cover off the ball these days. Jared, we didn't see that in them last year, now did we?
Well, we didn't see Riley last year anyways. She's being new to the team. But yeah, Vanessa's really stepped it up and become much more of a power hitter, which is not what she was initially recruited for. But they started working on her swing kind of beginning mid last season and said, okay, we need more power hitting. Stay in the box and use your weight and swing. And it's paid off. I think we're seeing a lot of better at-bats out of her, stronger swings. Even if it's not going over the fence, we're seeing a lot of outfield multi-base hits out of her, and that's something you do want to see. It puts runners in scoring position for the following batters, and having Riley come in and be a strong, heavy hitter so far has been great, helping pick up some of the slack with some of the players that we lost. So home run hitting team this season. I like it.
Yeah, I'll throw the one more in there because you've got 3 out of 4 that are flirting with 1,000 OPS so far this season. Maddie Grant has been very good. Not as many at bats as the others. She's playing mostly in a more of a reserve role, but getting some more run with Easton Lotus having been out recently. So she's 4th on the team in OPS. Today's stats notwithstanding. So those aren't included, but yeah, with Daisy Hess, Vanessa Miller, Riley Frizzell, and Maddie Grant all flirting with 1,000 OPS. That's getting on base, and it's getting additional bases. Additional bases means, like Jared said, getting in scoring position and giving your teammates the opportunity to bat you in. So it's been good, to say the least. And I think that we look at fielding as well. We mentioned bringing in Daisy Hess, and she was a Gold Glover in high school and very good at Georgia State as well defensively. And some of the head scratching last season was more errors than I think we were expecting. Through 9 games, so through yesterday's games, only 1 error out of her. The team has only committed 5 on the season. So defensively doing a lot better, and part of that has come from the pitching being stronger as well. So it's a very good start, and like Jared said earlier, they've not played, the biggest powerhouses. They haven't had to face any of those top-ranked teams like they did in a couple years past early in the season. But maybe it's better for them to get a lot of momentum and a lot of morale boosting, confidence building in this early part of the season as they head into the first game they'll host at home, being Western Kentucky at the end of the month before they go back on the road again.
They're going to be heading to Conway, South Carolina, Case, home of Coastal Carolina, a place where I spent an incredible bunch of nights and didn't bother to go to Myrtle Beach, which like everybody else in their right mind did. No, I chose to stay in Conway, South Carolina. My advice to anybody who even has the foggiest notion of attempting to do that, don't. Keep driving. Myrtle Beach is right down the road. Don't
Conway,
stay in.
South Carolina. Is that where Anna Stevenson's from?
Well, if it is, I feel sorry for her.
You would be the one to know. I don't like.
You might know that. I mean,
somewhere in that vicinity. I don't know.
Got her on your speed dial. Call her up and ask her. I know.
Dial.
But anyway, Conway, South Carolina is not the place that you want to take the kids for a family vacation. Believe me. The best hotel there is the Red Roof Inn, and it's horrible. Okay. Enough on that, though. Cards will be headed down there to play Furman.
I wonder if their softball field is teal as well as their football field.
I drove by and looked at it, and it kind of looked like the one out here at Fern Creek Industrial Park. There were clumps of grass. No, I'm kidding. They had some old man out there who's retired and wanted to be around the program with a rake. He was groundkeeper. No. Furman. Let's go down there and see if the Cards can continue their impressive start. But we do want to talk just a little bit about lacrosse. Jared, you braved those, had to be god-awful temperatures out there yesterday to see something pretty cool, though, huh?
I got to see a win, so I was happy. But, yeah, man, it was cold. That wind picked up, especially the second half as we were getting closer to that weather advisory. A little bit of precipitation. It was a mixture of some rain and sleet going on. So it was not too friendly for the 150 folks, maybe, that were there. I think that's probably an overestimation on what I was hearing in the press box. But the team really showed out, especially in the second half. I think this season so far, Teeter's squad has been more of a second-half team, getting off to some slow starts, digging themselves a hole, and then spending the second half coming back. We saw it against Colorado where they did race back and tie the game before losing at the very end. This one they were down 7-5 at one point. Big 7-0 run in there, built themselves a bit of a comfortable lead, and then they were able to just burn some clock down the stretch to win. Just phenomenal offensive outing by Nicole Peroni again, and then having Sarah Desch in goal, especially last season or two, has been helpful. 18 saves yesterday, so almost 2 times as many saves as she did goals allowed. So phenomenal.
And you were telling me you got post-game remarks with all that. I don't see the link on the article here in case that you have trouble finding that, or
nope.
I try refreshing it's on there now.
Completely forgot. We'll get in there.
Let's see if we can go ahead and Jared has now become the best friend of Rocco Gasparero on campus, and that should be a fun friendship, as he was able to give Jared free reign on who he wanted to talk to and when he wanted to talk to him. That's pretty impressive. I could never get that. Good job.
Yeah, buddy. Rocco basically just said in the press box, like, yeah, I heard you're going to do post-game. Could you just email me the video when you're done? I'm like, sure. I figured he'd come in because typically when we have a student athlete in post-game, the SIDs prefer to be there just to help
Yeah.
protect the student athletes from anything that they may say on their end. Coaches go through a lot more training than the players do in that aspect. But no, it was fine. It was kind of Teeter and I doing some banter back and forth for a while, and let Nicole give some comments, and then capped it off with just letting Teeter brag on her and getting a nice smile.
And we'll be adding that to today's article as well if you all want to listen to Jared in prime time. I'm looking at the clock on the wall here, guys, and I'm seeing that both hands are on the 12. Either my clock is stopped or it's noon. We've had a fun show today. I really appreciate you guys coming in and doing this. My best wishes to Daryl. I hope she gets to feeling better. I know there's nothing worse than a nagging cold that won't go away no matter what you do. I've been there. I think we all probably have, and just hopes that she's feeling better to be able to join you, Case, and tomorrow at the game, and not, first of all, give you the cold, and second of all, that she's feeling well enough to y'all can have fun watching it at the hoops game. And isn't this about where we do some final thoughts? I believe it is. So let's go ahead and get those in. Who wants to go first?
I will jump in. I'm going to go back to women's basketball officiating. I'm sure you're all surprised, me ranting on that.
Dude, that volleyball. I mean, we know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The ACC statement when they came out with a fine for Jeff Walz that he's going to pay off by selling firewood, apparently. In their statement, they referenced the ACC sportsmanship policy.
Yep.
And I'm going to quote part of it.
Yep.
Public criticism of officials or public comments evaluating the officiating of particular contests is not in the best interest of intercollegiate athletics. I'm sorry. That is a terrible policy. That is absolutely the most asinine thing I think I've ever heard out of the ACC. That is the language of tyrants and wannabe tyrants who want to avoid any criticism of their own and want to preserve their own position and prestige over the quality of the organization.
Amen, sister, sing it.
Oh my God. If I were employed in a company and the leaders of the company came out with a statement like that, I would quit on the spot, because that is an organization that is spiraling downhill that comes out with language like that. That is embarrassing.
Having seen these blowhards at ACC tournaments,
God,
walking around in their stuffed shirts and their jackets and acting like, yes, I am God, and please get out of my way. I am walking.
That is terrible.
It don't surprise me none. It's stupid, but it don't surprise me none, buddy.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Case, what you got for us? Some final thoughts here.
Yeah, just a little bit more. Give some more credit where it's due. We talked about Sarah Dash. Nicole Peroni had 3 goals, or 4 goals. Sorry. But also want to shout out both Nakazawa sisters. Had hat tricks in yesterday's game as well. And then Kylie Dobson and Tiffany Natoli both finished with 3 points in the game. So good offensive showing from the Cards all around, and good to see them adapting to the new rules as well, more quickly than Marquette, apparently. On the penalty side, Louisville drew 5 fewer penalties, 5 fewer cards total in the game. They took more free position shots, capitalized on them, scored more penalty or power play goals, scored a goal on penalty kill, which is just impressive. And yeah, just wanted to give a little bit more shout out there on the cross with my final thought.
And well done, because this is a team that could be good, no doubt. Jared, I'm going to let you be the last one here. I'm going to jump in and go ahead and give my final thoughts on it. And I'm going to women's basketball too. Okay, Jeff. 2-2 in our last 4 games, buddy.
Yep.
Is this what we want? No. And it's not going to get any easier with Virginia Tech. and then a fun trip down to Georgia Tech after that. And for some reason, when we go down to Georgia Tech, sometimes we just forget how to play basketball. I've seen it. And I got to be on a personal aside, they treat media horribly down there. I mean, if they had put me any higher in that facility down there, I was flag level. If you take a look at the top of the ceiling, and they had those flags up there hanging down, that's where I was watching the game from. Not a big fan of Georgia Tech, but 2-2. We must do better. We've got exactly 5 games left in the regular season to do better. Let's make this 2-2, 7-2. Let's go into the tournament, ACC tournament and other tournament, NCAA, with a bit of steam. It's up to you, coach. It's up to the players. We want them to do it. We'll be behind them 100%. But let's get this thing out of a 500 status, and let's get a win streak started, eh? That's enough out of me, Jared. Your turn.
Yeah, you mentioned some poor treatment as a member of the media when you traveled somewhere.
Oof.
Experienced the same issue actually up at the old National Center in Indianapolis Thursday night when photographing a concert. Not going to get into details, just a pretty unprofessional staff. So going to turn my final thoughts into something positive, and just glad we've got a lot of sports going on. Glad I was able to get out to lacrosse, see a win. Excited I'm going to see softball in a couple weeks at home, and I'm certainly ready for tomorrow's basketball game. Looking forward to this big crowd we're going to have.
And, let's just end it by saying we appreciate those of you who listen to us, those of you who give us comments here, because basically we're in this because of you all. And we like your ideas and suggestions. Sometimes we may countermand those, but the whole thing about it is we love you and want you to come back. And I love these guys too and want them to come back each week. And certainly, I hope that everybody has a wonderful week coming up. I'm looking forward to some other things possibly in my life that will be even better and better. And so we're all Cardinal fans. Let's all cheer for the Cards, shall we? Have a great one, everybody, and have a fun weekend.